inshallah. We're going to get some brothers probably join us on Zoom. So we will have more discussion. And I hope this is the last week we do online only. And next week, inshallah, we will be in the Highland Masjid. So we will not need Zoom. So people can come personally and join the discussion, inshallah. So we have now, alhamdulillah, we have Brother Arif, mashallah, hello wa sallam. And you can chip in and ask me questions if along the way. We started Surah Al-Mumtahinah last week, and we said it has two names, either Al-Mumtahinah, which if it's the surah itself testing us, or Al-Mumtahanah, which is a lady who joined the Muslims coming from the unbelief side to the Islamic side, so you test her. So whether the surah testing us or we test the new Muslims, it's not a major issue. But the surah, as we said last week, it is actually detailing who could be your alliances. After talking about Banu al-Nadir and how they asked or formed alliances and they were let down by their alliances. Now the start of the surah, Allah Azza wa Jal talk about who should be your alliance. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا عدوي وعدوكم أولياء تلقون إليهم بالمودة. So you shouldn't take the enemies of Allah and your enemies as alliance, and you show your affection to them, and you allow them to have a look at your secrets and be involved in your decision making, because they disbelieved in what Allah Azza wa Jalla has sent, the truth, and they have forced the Prophet ﷺ, the messenger, and you, the believer, out of your town, and that's for one reason, because you believe in Allah and in the hereafter. So it is it's detailed. It's like when people attack you because of your religion and to take your land or both, then there will be obviously your enemy, and they should not be trusted with your mainland security and economical security and military secrets and things. By the way, the session is going to be 40 minutes, inshallah, because the Zoom only allows us 40 minutes. But from next week, it will be 1 hour again, inshallah. So you only left Mecca and went to Medina because you want to please Allah Azza wa Jal. And Allah Azza wa Jal said, I know what's in your heart and I know what you declare. And whoever does that, he will have gone astray. And when you read the story, the meaning of the surah in the tafsir books, the meaning books like Baghawi, Sa'di, Ibn Kathir, Qurtubi, Tabari, and others, they will talk about the incident when Hatib ibn Abi Balta'a sent to the Qurayshi a secret letter with a lady called Asma, who was like a singer. She used to sing for the youth in Mecca, and lost her job because nobody was coming to her to listen to her after Badr. So she came to Mecca asking financial help from Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. And because she comes from Bani Hashim family, she thought that she would approach them as being a member of their family. And the Prophet ﷺ, when he found her that she didn't come to announce that she's a Muslim and she's not immigrating to live in Medina, he just wants some financial help, he gave her some money, asked Bani Hashim to give her some money, and she went back to Mecca. On her way back, she was spotted by Hatim ibn Abi Balta'a, and he gave her the message that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu going to Medina, so be careful, going to Mecca, so be careful. And Hatim ibn Abi Balta'a, when Prophet sallallahu obviously Jibril told him about the message, because the Prophet sallallahu didn't want any news about conquering Mecca to reach Mecca, because he was against having a fight in Mecca. So he wanted to suddenly appear in Mecca and force the Mecca people not to fight, which Alhamdulillah has done. But the plan obviously is a plan of Allah Azza wa Jal. This is why Jibreel came straight away, told Prophet Muhammad about Sarah, who was carrying this message, and he sent Ali ibn Abi Talib and Zubayr and Al-Baghdad and a couple of more with a mission to find her. And he said to them that you will find her in Khawkha. And they went and found her, and they brought her to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they took the message from her hair. She was hiding it in her hair. At the beginning, they searched her. They didn't find anything in her luggage. And then Ali ibn Abi Talib said, we didn't lie. Prophet Muhammad didn't lie. Jibreel didn't lie. You have the message. Either we kill you or you give us the message. So she gave the message, which she was hiding inside her hair, in the back of her head. So the Prophet ﷺ brought Hatim ibn Abi Balta'a. Hatim confessed, and the Prophet ﷺ said that yes, he was telling the truth, that he didn't leave Islam, he wasn't mushrik, he wasn't disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal, but he thought that this message will make Qurayshi people accommodate him or not fight him when he goes back with the Prophet ﷺ, because he had no support in Mecca. But the action itself was a major treason. Umar ibn Khattab asked the Prophet ﷺ permission to cut his head off, but the Prophet ﷺ said no, because he joined us in Badr, and Allah he looked into the people who joined in Badr, and he said, do whatever you like, I have forgiven you, which also gave us a lesson from Allah that if somebody make a major mistake, doesn't mean that that's the end of him. He should be rubbished or blacklisted for life. No, you need to look into his past contribution, his past work, his past record, and take that into consideration, that you reduce the penalty. In this country, they go into his back upbringing. He came from dysfunctional family, he came from this, he came from that, his father was unemployed, so they try to give him excuse for his crimes. In Islam, I look into his good record. So his good record will also work for his case as well, to save him. So when you look into the surah starts with this ayah, who should be your alliance, and then Allah Azza wa Jal talk about how to deal with your enemies, and that you should be careful that if you think your families will help you or not, they will not, especially Day of Judgment. And Allah asks us to take the story of Ibrahim and how he dealt with his nation as an example, and also he said, asking Allah not to test us, so we will not be a tribulation to, or a test for the unbelievers. Like if we lose a fight, then the unbelievers say that if they were correct and the Lord is correct, their Lord would have made them win. Or if we make mistakes, they would say, if their Lord was teaching them correctly, they wouldn't do such a mistake. So we ask Allah to make us behave well and win in our missions and difficulties and things like that. And then he goes in the ayah, in the surah, to tell us about how we should deal with the unbelievers. So he talk about to deal with the unbelievers of being your alliance, and you trust them, they trust you, and they knows your secrets, and then fight you whenever they have a chance. But then he gave us exclusions. People who are not fighting you for your religion, they're not kick you out of your land, even if they don't believe, they're not on your religion, you have to deal with them nicely and justly, and stretch a helping hand to them. And تقسطوا إليهم, like even from time to time you try to help them out in their difficulties, which I don't think they teach it in many mosques, that you help the unbelievers financially from time to time. We know some people give part of the zakah because in the Quran you give to the mu'allafa qulubhum, whose heart are near Islam or love Muslims. But in this surah, they actually, Allah Azza wa Jal expecting us um, to give them financial help. وَتُقْسِطُوا إِلَيْهِمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُقْسِطِينَ, which is not to be judged with them, because being just with them, it's order, it's different ayah. And Allah يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى, you have to be just with them, it's amr, it's order from Allah. But here, to give them financial help, to give them support, to educate them, whatever, from time to time, it's one of the things which is expected, providing they don't fight you for your religion and they don't force you out of your land. And then he regulated how to deal with those who come to Islam, claiming to be new convert or new revert to Islam. And when you marry them, first, that the marriage to the kuffar become nil and void. Secondly, if you marry them, you should compensate their previous husbands with the cost of what they spend. And if your wives leave Islam and go to the unbelievers, then you need to be compensated for your marriage gift and mahar and things. And obviously, they're not going to give you that. So Allah Azza wa Jalla said, you could take that when you get some money from dealing with the kuffar. وإن فاتكم شيء من أزواجكم إلى الكفار فعاقبتم فآتوا الذين ذهبت أموالهم مثل ما أنفقوا واتقوا الله. So this ayah here, you need to give them, whenever the government have, as a state, have some money came from either a war or some other means, then you give those who lost their wives compensation. So regulated in the beginning of the surah, regulated the relationship with other governments and unbelievers, and when do you avoid them and not be exposed, not let them in no part or any part of your secrets. And then he regulated the other relationship with the unbelievers, whether they are coming as immigrants or coming as revert or coming as new believers. If they're coming as new believers and they want to enter Islam, then Allah Azza wa Jalla wanted the Prophet ﷺ to do bay'ah with them, take a pledge from them, and he listed لا يشركن بالله, don't associate a partner with Allah, don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't kill your children, and do not bring from between your arms and legs, which mean here, don't either kidnap somebody's child and tell your husband that it is his child, or get pregnant from a different man and claim to your husband that he is his son, the child is his child. So bayahunna, and this is wastaghfir lahunna Allah. So give them the pledge and ask Allah to forgive them. And Imam Sha'rawi is saying that it's really important that you ask Allah to forgive you, and also ask the Prophet to ask Allah to forgive you. So إذا جاءوك واستغفروا الله واستغفر لهم الرسول لوجدوا الله غفورا رحيما. If those who make mistakes and big sins or whatever ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to forgive them and came to the Prophet and asked the Prophet to ask Allah to forgive them, they would have found Allah his forgiver. So the Imam Sha'rawi is saying, how would we get Prophet Muhammad to ask Allah to forgive us while he's passed away? He said, when you read your salah, you say, Assalamu alayka ayyuhan nabiyyu, as if he's still alive there and you're talking to him. So, and the Prophet also said that your deeds are shown to me on a daily basis. If I find something good, I thank Allah Azza wa Jal. If I find something bad, I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive you. So we are not dissociated from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I'm just looking into. So this is important that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has contribution to us here, 21st century, and we asked Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive us, and we asked somebody else. So obviously people who claim to shy away from wasila, this is wasila. Istaghfara lahum al-Rasul. So this is wasila. You ask the Prophet. I said, oh, when he was alive, it's alive, and now he is dead. No, he's not dead. When you talk to him, he says, Salamu alayka ayyuhan nabi, and he died as a martyr. And Allah said, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٌ بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Sha'arawi, when he was mentioning this, he mentioned something which is new, I didn't know before. That's why we say Al-Hamza Sayyid al-Shuhada, that's why he's a shaheed like everybody else, why he is the master of the martyrs. And he said that when he was killed, Hind, the wife of Abu Sufyan, she did bite his liver, and this means that she insulted a martyr after death while he's still obviously alive as a martyr. So who insulted a martyr? We only know about Al-Hamza. That's why he said Al-Hamza huwa Sayyidu. He is the master of the martyrs. So this is, and then the surah ends by يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتولوا قوما غضب الله عليهم. So again, he went back to to conclude the surah by reminding us of the first ayah. So in between the first ayah and the last ayah, he injected rules on how to deal with non-Muslims who are not fighting you because of your religion and because they kicked you out of your land. And he advised us how to deal with people who immigrate to your country or revert or convert to your religion, or who came, especially women, in the time of treaty when the Prophet ﷺ was agreed that anybody who come as a Muslim should be allowed to come to Medina. Should not be allowed to enter Medina, while if anybody leaves Islam, he could go to Mecca. But then this ayah came to tell the Prophet ﷺ to exclude women if they come to Medina as immigrants. So test them. So they are not subject to that item in the Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. And amazing, because the Qurayshi, as I said last week, did not disagree. They agreed with this. And many women came and converted to Islam and came to Medina, while the Hudaybiyah treaty is still valid. So also they mentioned that the ayah actually that you shouldn't fight people who don't fight you because of your religion, because of your because they forced you out of your land, to be good to them. They quoted two incidents in Al-Tabari and Qurtubi and Ibn Kathir and Sa'di and Baghawi, which I read, that the Muslims had good relationship with Khuza'a, a tribe who wasn't Muslim tribe, but they were treating them nicely, and they were their friends, and they were buying from them and selling them. And also they mentioned an incident when a lady called Qatila, who was an ex-wife of Abu Bakr, he divorced her, but her daughter Asma bint Abi Bakr was in Medina, and she came to visit her and brought her some gift and things, and she wouldn't allow her inside the house until she went and asked the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet said, yes, entertain her. And this is mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim. So if we go back to the surah and go to, as usual, to ayah after ayah, and this is the first ayah, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Obviously Allah is addressing the believers, and you are expected to be one of them. So never take my enemy and your enemy awliya. So this is a rule from Allah Azza wa Jal. تُلْقُونَ إِلَيْهِمْ بِالْمَوَدَّةِ. Now awliya, alliance, and you have share interest in security, in financial security, military security, religious security, and all sort of your existence actually based on this. So if you take them, if you expose all your secrets to them, you put yourself at high risk, and you show your affection to them. And that's different than dealing with them as your brothers in humanity, your brothers in citizenship, your brothers in family, could be same family, one kafir, one Muslim. And they disbelieved in the truth which came to you from your Lord. كفروا بما جاءكم من الحق, and they forced يخرجون الرسول وإياكم. They forced the Prophet ﷺ and the believers, the mu'min, Hajirin, from Mecca. For one reason, because you believe in Allah, who is your Lord. And you came out to please Allah Azza wa Jal and fight for His sake and gain His pleasure. وابتغاء مرضاته تسرون إليهم بالمودة. You shouldn't. And here, that's what Hatim Abi Balta'a did. That, you know, I'm your friend, I'm telling you top secret, so when I come to Mecca, don't attack me, because he was attached to Mecca. He wasn't from a major tribe in Mecca, so he was worried. Allah doesn't want anyone to worry about this, because Allah is the protector. And Allah knows what's in his heart, and told the Prophet ﷺ that he wasn't lying. He wasn't, he didn't become kafir, he didn't leave Islam. And that was an error of judgment, misjudgment, as they say. He wasn't taking a right decision. He made a major mistake, wasn't aware of how grave. Like he said to the Prophet, obviously he was trusting that Allah will make the Prophet enter Mecca and he will be victorious in Mecca. So he was like, you know, seeing it with his own eyes. As one occasion I'm going to mention here, we had in Syria in 1965, we had Prime Minister called Amin al-Hafiz. Amin al-Hafiz had a deputy, and the deputy obviously was Amin al-Hafiz was also a military man, and the deputy called Kamel Amin Thabit, and he was exposed to all the secrets and he knew everything. And then he was spotted in Cairo in a picture, who they knew that he was a high member in the Mossad in Israel. And they chased that, they found that he was a planted spy from Israel inside Syria, and he managed to reach the top. So obviously all these investigations, checking the background of people, failed, and they executed him in Damascus. I saw him hanged in Marja. I went and saw him myself. Many people passed there to see how they hanged him, because he was a major spy. But he passed a lot of secrets from Syria to Israel. So obviously that played part in us losing the war in 1967. So it does happen. And if we don't listen to Allah Azza wa Jalla and be careful how to protect our secrets, we will be the same. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla said, يَثْقَفُوكُمْ يَكُونُوا لَكُمْ أَعْدَاءَ. If they find, you know, get hold of you, control you, they will be your fiercest enemy. I mean, now, for a few days or few weeks, Macron appeared really fierce enemy to Islam. And when he found that that's going to hit him economically and politically, he retracted some of his enmity. But his enmity showed. Enmity of Donald Trump showed very easily. He went and moved his embassy. And so they saw the weakness of the Muslims. They made the move. And they forced, obviously, Gulf states, either they're part of them or I don't know, I mean, because they now normalize the relationship. If Sadat normalized the relationship with Israel to get back his Sinai and to stop the fight and build his country, you might think, you know, probably it's tactic or whatever. The Prophet ﷺ made Hudaybiyah and whatever. But here, there's no border between the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain with Israel. There's no need to Israel. There's the whole world open for Saudi. They said also Netanyahu visited Riyadh last week. So because obviously they have caught them from the neck, like, you know, so they will give in. And ويبسطوا إليكم أيديهم وألسنتهم بالسوء. They will easily fight you physically and verbally, and they wish that you leave Islam. The problem that Muslims who leave Islam, they don't become Christian or Jew or any other religion. They go out of being controlled by any moral values, which I found myself. I mean, I was amazed when Senok, you know, the Treasury Secretary, was celebrating Diwali, and he lit his candles outside number 11 Downing Street, while Sajid Javid said no, he doesn't celebrate Eid or doesn't practice Muslim, and he was born from Muslim family. The other guy, he didn't feel shame that he's Hindu and he's celebrating. So it seems the Muslims who leave Islam become worse than anybody else. Do you agree with me, brothers on the Zoom?
Yeah, there was one guy on one of those Sunday programs, and he was very critical of Islam until someone said, look, you know, you left Islam now, there's no need for you to get angry. I can't remember the Sunday morning program. I think it was called Sunday morning. Yeah, they get very, very critical and angry and go around saying all sorts of things rather than keep quiet.
Yeah, he left Islam and he was on Sunday program TV. He was attacking Islam.
That's right.
Yeah. So this is, I mean, I haven't seen Hindu attacking Hindu, and Christian attacking Christian, or Jew attacking Jews. I mean, obviously some do, but they still limit themselves to some of their moral values. Some Muslims who leave Islam, I mean, I have seen many of them when I was in Syria, when I was in the military as well. So they don't. I mean, Muslims who leave Islam become enemy to even themselves because their own families suffer and things. And then Allah is telling the Muslims that don't worry, your children and your family, your sisters, your next of kin will not benefit you in the hereafter. So you really need to please Allah Azza wa Jal, and Allah is aware of what you do. And then he reminded us of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, who openly said to the Kafirin that I don't like what you believe. I hate what you believe. I dissociate myself from your gods. You don't hate their belief. You hate the kufr. You hate to disbelieve that Allah is the creator. You hate to disbelieve that Allah Azza wa Jal, is in charge of us. You hate to disbelieve that Allah Azza wa Jal will summon us back to Him. And he said that to them. He wasn't short of saying it. وَبَدَأَ بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْعَدَاوَةَ وَالْبَغْضَاءَ أَبَدًا حَتَّى تُؤْمِنُوا, until you believe. So I'm not going to accept your belief. Now the way we have difficulty, or some Muslims have difficulty showing the British that we respect the English tradition. Now in France, he wants the Muslims to accept the French tradition. There is lack of communication. There's difficulty in communicating. So when I talk to British and things, and I say, what do you mean culture? Do you want me to love drinking? Do you want me to love taking drugs? Do you love having affair? Do you want me to love paying interest to banks? What's that you want me to love? You fight against alcohol because it causes problem in the country, and you fight against crimes and thefts and things. And so there is part of your culture you hate as well, and I hate. It's part of your culture I love and you love. Helping elderly, helping children, helping the animals, helping the environment, helping third world countries. Now they cutting the aid for third world countries, and that's not the nature of Britain. You have the reserve currency, you have the control of money, so when their money drops, the value of their money, you should compensate them. Now the dollar dropped by 11% since February, and all these poor countries, or even oil countries who link their money to the dollar, lost 11% of the value of their money for no fault of their own. So you need to compensate them at least 11% of the value of their money. So this is the economy is going in a way that you're making people poor just because the system is so unjust. So here he wants us to take example of Ibrahim, that he wasn't short of telling them that he doesn't believe in their beliefs, so they must have a second look into it. Some of their values are fine, some of their values, they are fighting against it. And um, he said to his father, I will ask Allah to forgive you, but he acknowledged him. Yes, he said that I don't have any control what Allah Azza wa will do, and we rely on Allah Azza wa. And he asked Allah Azza wa not to make him like a test to unbelievers, but they will see, oh, if you are good Muslims, Allah would have saved you, Allah would have helped you. We need to tell them there's part of us religious, part of us we have to look after our own day-to-day life. If we work, we get money, we buy food, we eat. If we don't work, we don't get money, we don't buy food, we don't eat. Allah will not drop gold and silver from heaven. And then again, لقد كان لكم فيهم أسوة حسنة. You have a great example in those who were with Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. If you, to whoever wishes to meet Allah Azza wa Jal and get the reward from Allah Azza wa Jal and get accepted in the hereafter, that is one of the winner. ومن يتولى الله فإن الله هو الغني. Allah is the rich. Allah Azza wa Jal is, he is the giver. He doesn't need anyone. And Al-Hamid is always thanked because his gifts never end. And then Allah addressed another issue. Don't take your enemies so badly, because sometimes they might become your friends. When Suhail ibn Amr was talking in Sarh al-Hudaybiyah and refused to acknowledge that Muhammad Rasulullah and refused to acknowledge writing Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, one of the Sahaba said, shall I kick him and break his teeth? Prophet Muhammad said, no, because one day he will say things which will please you. So when the Prophet passed away and the people apostate from Islam and refused to pay zakah, he came to the Qurayshi people and he was encouraging them to go and fight. He said, don't be the last to enter Islam and the first to let Islam down. And he went and was fighting. And he was an outspoken person, Suhail ibn Amr, in Mecca, and he made a lot of impact. And also when I lost in Uhud, when Khalid ibn Walid came from behind the mountain, one of the Sahaba said, I wish I managed to kill him, because there was a chance that for me to kill him, he escaped from my hand. And Prophet Muhammad said to him, no, because he will have a title he will always, dream of. And subhanAllah, I became Muslim and he was titled Saifullah al-Maslul. So some of your enemy might become your friends. So you only exclude those who fight you for your religion and fight you and force you out of your land. So there could be your enemy become your friends. Asa Allah an yaj'ala baynakum. Asa here from Allah Azza wa Jal means definitely it will happen, that they will become your friends and you will have good, affectionate, love to them, and Allah able to do it. Wallahu qadirun, Allahu ghafurun rahim. And this is the important ayah which we quote, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبروهم وتقسطوا إليهم. Allah doesn't force you or forbid you from those who do not fight you because of your religion, because there might be a fight because of the economy, like happened when Iraq invaded Kuwait. Then they went and asked for help to get Iraqi out of their country. It's not like Iraq invaded Kuwait because of Islam. They invaded Kuwait because of the oil. And they went to help Kuwait because also the West wanted the oil. They didn't go there to fight them because they are Muslims. and تبروهم البر حسن الخلق. The Prophet ﷺ said, virtue is noble behavior, to deal with them in a noble way. And وتقسط إليهم, here تقسط إليهم like تقسيط, understand to like help them from time to time, so that you show that you are really human being like them, you value their safety and security and peace. And so obviously many Muslims misunderstood Surah Al-Mumtahinah, and they went bombing here, bombing there. They have no understanding to Islam. They should never have acted the way they did. And the second ayah is clearly saying, yes, إنما ينهاكم الله الذين قاتلوكم في الدين. Allah forbids you from those who fight you because of your religion and force you out of your land, or supports those who force you out of your land. So if you come to countries who support Israel to push the Palestinians out of their lands, or take their expand, put these settlements and things, if they support them, then the Muslims have to say to them, no, we don't agree with that, because you are not acting fairly. But subhanAllah, Muslims lost their voice, and they had so bad throat cancer.
Do you think their thinking might be in time Israel might be friendly towards the Palestine and the Muslim nation, and that's why they have resumed the relationship?
No, they will never.
with Israel?
No, because Allah said in the Quran, تجدن أشد الناس عداوة الذين آمنوا اليهود والذين أشركوا. You will find those who have most enmity to Muslims are Jew and those who are apostate, mushrik. And I mentioned a few times in the past, I went to a meeting with a Jew in Birmingham, and I said to them, you can prove the Quran wrong today by showing us that this ayah is wrong, that those who have most enmity to Muslims are the Jew. Show us that you don't hate us, and go and give back the Palestinians their land, and say that you love them, hug them, and you prove the Quran wrong. And they said, no way. No way, Israel is not going back to Palestinians. They're not going to become like friendly with the Palestinians and come and hug them. They try to go from their back now. Who's supporting Palestinians, Hamas, and Palestinians, PLO? Gulf State, they're making deals with them and stopping all this financial help to the Palestinians. So they're trying to cut even the help from outside. But Muslims, they claim to be Muslims. They are against their own Quran. Look at this ayah, they are against the ayah. So we don't know. We don't know when the Jew will love the Muslims. Because if you love somebody, there's no point you love somebody and you confiscate his car and take his house, kick him out of his house. And what sort of love is this? So this is why the Quran is clear, subhanAllah. I mean, that's ayah for us that to state the Day of Judgment. And then he came to this ayah, الذين آمنوا إذا جاءكم المؤمنات مهاجرات. We're about to run out of time, because we have 3 minutes left. And here Allah wants us to test those who come as believers. So, and that's really important, that we test them, not like, in an insulting way or in rude way, but you really need to be careful. Whoever becomes Muslim, like I said, that Kamel Amin Thabit, he became the deputy prime minister in Syria, and he was planted as a Mossad spy in the top level in the government in Syria. So I don't know. I mean, that's there were lots written about him, but I'm not. I don't have time to go through some of it or any of it. And they shouldn't send them back to the kuffar, because once somebody become a Muslim, her marriage become null and void. And I mentioned last week that it's different than you come to one of the member of the family become Muslim. You don't ask her to leave her husband, but here they left Mecca and went to Medina. You can't send them back. If your wife leave your home and say, no, I'm going to go to a church, become Christian. If the church send her back to your home, then there is a risk on her. I don't mean any of you will be aggressive, but if somebody, and I know of few cases in Pakistan, I think there were a lady who left Islam and they want to execute her because she became apostate. Do you remember the story? It was in the news.
There's a law there. So, I mean, the apostate law is still in.
Sorry, we lost brother Dr. Mudassar. He was saying there's apostate law in Pakistan and they were applying the apostate law on the lady who left Islam. But that's also negotiable because if you can only punish somebody who leave Islam and go to another religion or no religion if he is coming back to fight the Muslims. If he is not coming back to fight the Muslims, you have no right to fight him because la ikraha fi din. And the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha that so those who leave Islam and come back to fight Allah and His Messenger and the Muslim, then you fight back. تارك لدينه المفارق للجماعة ومن يحارب الله ورسوله. Left his religion, left the group, but he came back to fight the Muslims. Then you fight back and apply the law to him. But if he leaves the religion and you force him, you might say, yeah, I'm a Muslim, and you create hypocrites. We'll continue, inshallah, next week to the end of the surah. And we have to stop here because we lost brothers who were following us on Zoom. Next week there will be no Zoom, but it will be inshallah on Facebook and YouTube as usual. But it will be in the mosque itself, inshallah, in the Highland Masjid. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا هذا اجتماعا مرحوما تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما. May Allah make our meeting blessed and protect us after leaving each other. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.